The best thing about art is that you can be creative wherever you are and use any materials that are available to you. You don't have to use traditional art materials that you might be used to, like painting or clay or printmaking. Michael Aaron Williams uses coffee. He uses a readily available material, just coffee, and often very cheap pieces of paper. If you look at some of his images, he might have some lined paper or really something that you guys could just tear out of your book. So the first thing you're going to do is get yourself some coffee. There should be some coffee somewhere in your house, in your kitchen. Now personally, I don't want to touch instant coffee. So I've poured myself some nice coffee using my espresso machine. Now you'll need some basic materials for this art lesson. First thing I recommend is get yourself some paper. Make sure you have some form of lead pencil so you can do some drawing. And also it's helpful to have a screen, have an iPad or something like that that you'll be using for your reference. I also encourage you, if you can find a paintbrush, that's going to be helpful. And the most important part of this exercise is coffee. Now, if you don't have any coffee, you could probably use tea. I encourage you, make sure it's really concentrated so you have lots of coffee or lots of tea in this drink. Make sure it's black tea. And if you don't have coffee or tea, maybe you could even use something like turmeric, something that has lots of pigment that you can mix with water to make your painting. Now, I would encourage you to take a walk up the street, take a walk around your house, and the first thing you'll need is a reference photo. So I would encourage you, go find yourself a reference photo, take a walk up the street and take some photographs. See what might capture your eye. Maybe it's the facade of your house. Maybe it's your cat. Maybe it's your neighbor's cat. Maybe it's a bird that you see sitting in a tree. Or maybe it's some leaves that you find lying on the ground. This photo that I'm going to use is actually a photo I took just the other day when cafes were open, and I saw this little bird that was perched right next to me. And I thought, why don't I take a snap of that? I could make some art out of that. Okay, so now I'm going to start painting. First thing I've done is I've actually drawn an outline sketch of my image. So I've started by doing the general outline of my bird. Then I'm starting to put in the dark colors. Now for this one I'm using concentrated liquid. Now I'm finding that actually the coffee itself is quite light compared to paint. So I really need a lot of coffee within my liquid, but I'm also, for those darker colors, making sure it stays very wet. And I'm being very careful not to move my page, but to actually let that dry on the page. You'll notice that I'm starting to put in the really dark colors, and then I'm putting in a few of the light browns. Focusing well, looking at some good details, eventually I have my image of a bird. Now, towards the end, I decided actually I need to add a little bit more contrast to this. So I've gone and got myself a black texture just so I can put in a little bit more detail and actually make the darks darker. A great painting always has strong contrast. You'll have some really soft light colors, but you'll also have some really heavy dark colors. And what that does is it actually makes it look more three-dimensional, and it gives you more of what we call a tonal range, where it's not just a light tone and a mid-tone, but you have a really dark tone, so that actually it's a more powerful image. I hope you've really enjoyed today's video, and I hope you really enjoy your lesson today. So go take a walk up the street, get yourself some coffee from your kitchen, and get yourself a few materials and start painting. Have a great day.